Hey, what is up guys? I just wanted to do a quick video to kind of walk you through what I've done with my Hydrowave, how I fixed it, and what you should expect. Because if you watch the videos, which the videos are great, definitely I'm going to recommend watching them. But if you watch them, they're, like tapping, they've taken these washing machines apart 20 times probably to do all of the videos. And they're like tapping these things or, just barely putting any torque to remove the bolts and screws and nuts. So this is specifically for the Hydrowave, the GE Hydrowave washing machines. My model number is WJRE555080WW. It doesn't matter what the model number is unless it's some other complete non-Hydrowave washing machine. I bought mine in '08 or '09, I think. Today's date, at least the month, is December of 2018. And about 6 months ago, it started making this kind of like a whirling, like a rumbling noise on a spin cycle. And that got worse and worse and worse until it literally sounded like a freight train. The washing machine stopped working. Jumped on Google, did some research. I ended up replacing the mode shifter, which that fixed the whirling. Come to find out, my motor was bad. So the mode shifter actually, the old one still works. There's just some play in the bearing. If I probably greased it, it'd be fine. Something drew a little bit too much power, whether it was the motor itself or some control board trying to control the motor and the mode shifter. But the motor actually went bad. The mode shifter is still in perfect working condition. It's just the bearing is shot because the tub seal leaks. So I got a new tub seal with the mode shifter and took the whole thing apart. I followed that Appliance Parts Pros video. It's a great video. Definitely watch that. Watch it before you do the install. That's the key. If you're hard-headed like me, you're gonna probably like this video because I'm gonna tell you exactly what you need to fix and what you don't need to fix and why. And it's just well worth it. So I bought the mode shifter, put it all back together. Things still didn't work because the motor was broken. No LEDs, no nothing. I ended up finding a video where a guy said that his motor didn't have LEDs, so I did all this troubleshooting, come to find out that the motor was also bad. That's a $240 part. The washing machine, it's 10 years old. It might be worth 150 bucks, right? Working. I've already spent 120 on a new mode shifter. I'm like, oh my gosh, between a mode shifter and a motor, now we're up to almost $400. I could go buy a cheap washing machine for that with a warranty. So luckily I found one on eBay, a used motor. I took a chance, I had it ready. Literally, the thing showed up, installed it. That way if I had any issues with it, the guy, the seller couldn't be like, well, you had this thing for 3 weeks, who knows if it worked or not. Installed the motor, hey, it worked, everything worked. Put it all back together, tub seal still leaked. I couldn't believe it. What ended up happening is the tub seal itself sealed around the shaft. So the mode shifter is essentially like the shaft that drives everything. The shaft goes through the outer tub, and the tub seal goes over that. I think either, maybe when I tried to get the old tub seal out, because it's like corroded, crusted in with years and years of dirt and grime and soap scum and everything that settles to the bottom of the washing machine. When I pried it out with the screwdriver, I may have scratched the plastic a little bit. So I just used some RTV, sealed it up, put RTV on the outside, not the inside, so the outside where the rubber seal meets the plastic tub. Let that dry for 24 hours, worked great. So everything was a success. I then did 7 loads of laundry back to back to back to back to back, ending with towels and like a sheet. My better half was like, like load 4, she's like, maybe give the washing machine a break, don't just like throw a bunch of stuff at it. I'm like, it's fine, right? It's great. Oh, what I thought was the mode shifter went bad again because it almost like locked up to where, I couldn't even turn the tub. So if you go over to your washing machine right now, you should be able to turn the inner tub without too much of an issue. I couldn't do that. I couldn't figure out what it was. Did some reading. Some people said, hey, the mode shifter is bad. Like it's a magnet. It gets stuck up and it engages the gear, and you can't turn it because you're essentially turning it against the motor. So I'm like, unbelievable, So I take this whole thing apart again, and the bearing. There's a bearing, and it's not what you'd think if you're mechanically inclined. It's not what you'd think a bearing would be. But the bearing goes from the bottom of the outer tub. It screws in. There's one screw. It goes into the bottom of the tub, and the mode shifter slides through that. And I don't know why they call it a bearing, because there's probably 2 or 3 or 4 mil of clearance. It just it helps keep the outer tub on the mode shifter, on that shaft. It's seized. The mode shifter seized onto that bearing. So I was literally standing on top of the tub. I had to take the entire thing apart, right? Flip it up, flip it upside down, which you'll see if you watch the All Appliance Parts Pros video. They didn't pay me to do this. They just have an awesome video. That's why I keep naming them. There's a couple companies out there that do those videos, but Appliance Parts Pros have all the parts and have all the breakout diagrams and everything you need. And quick shipping, which is key. I'm an Amazon snob, so I like the 2-day shipping. I think theirs was something like 2 days too. But anyways, took the entire thing apart, flipped it upside down, took everything off, got it ready, and I couldn't get the mode shifter out. It seized onto the bearing, and then the bearing got so warm, it kind of, it didn't melt the outer tub, but it was seated in there. And what I ended up having to do is I flipped it back over, so I'm looking back into the tub. I got a 4x4, drilled a hole in that about the size of the mode shifter, about halfway through the 4x4, and then a 2x4, and just beat the 2x4 into the 4x4 to push while the outer tub was sitting on like 2 milk crates, 2 5-gallon buckets. And ended up beating it to where marring up the teeth on the mode shifter, so I had to file those down to put it was just unbelievable. So I finally get the mode shifter, I finally get the mode shifter with the bearing out of the tub. Now the bearing is stuck onto the mode shifter. So what I'm getting to is when you replace your mode shifter, get a new bearing. It's like $6. Why mine seized, I have no idea. I've probably done 7 loads before, but get a new bearing. It's the outer tub bearing. Again, this is a Hydrowave only thing. So I get it all back together. Everything's great. The new motor, well, used new motor. The new mode shifter. I resealed the tub seal. So I peeled off all the RTV. And actually another thing that I missed, I pulled off, so it was leaking. The first time the tub seal started to leak, I pulled off the tub seal and I had a spring kind of hanging at the bottom of the tub on the mode shifter shaft. And I'm like, man, where's that spring come from? There's the spring, it's essentially the seal spring that goes around the rubber seal and keeps tension around the rubber onto essentially the machine shaft of the mode shifter. Somehow that fell off. I don't know if I put it on, the seal on too hard, but when you put the tub seal on, make sure you kind of, as you're putting it on, twist it and push down on it gently, and it should pop onto the machine piece of the mode shifter and seal nicely. Mine wasn't leaking there. Mine was leaking around the outside, so I put RTV there, placed it back in there, let it sit for 24 hours, started to fill it up, right? The next day, start to fill it up. So I had it almost all the way back together. I didn't have all the panels on and everything all screwed back together, but it was in a, hey, let's test this out. Gets about half full, and it starts leaking water. It's drip, 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 but it's leaking from the side, almost like where the overflow is coming from. Oh my gosh. Somehow I broke the outer tub. When I had to beat the heck out of the mode shifter. I probably missed or something, smacked the side of the tub. I cracked it. All I wanted to do at this point is get this thing back up and running and maybe sell it for $100 on Craigslist. I've invested 150 or 175 bucks. So now I have to fix that. So now I'm literally fixing that right now. But a couple other things I just want to mention real quick. So you can see right there the nice crack. It's almost like a little L, like a backwards L or a J there. You can see. And this is actually, I've cleaned this out. So if for people that haven't opened up their tubs yet and you want to see it, I mean, this is clean. You can see all the residue and soot and soap. That's actually, all this is loose. This is the split ring. Like it's actually, there's a bunch of junk on it from that test run I did, but you can see this is loose. Yours will not be loose. You will have to take a screwdriver and screw with it and get this thing off. When you get everything off, clean it with a metal brush. Clean it real nicely with a metal brush, get all this crap off. Word to the wise. You're gonna watch this video. They're gonna show you something like this. They have a different one. They have like a plastic hammer. This I got on Amazon. It's probably, I don't know, it looks like quarter inch. It might be billet. It's not stamped, so it looks like it was cut out because I can see little marks where it looks like it was cut. It is solid. This is solid steel. I don't know if you can see. Let's see if this will focus. I beat the ever-living hell out of this with a 5-pound sludge, 2.5-pound sludge, 5 pound sludge. trying to get the outer tub bolt off, it's not easy. I must have beat on that thing for half hour, used various thread chase, like various lubricants, trying to get down into the threads and chase all of the soap and crap out of the threads that were locking on the bolt. So the bolt, you're gonna need this. I tried not using this. I tried vice grips and no. Even this thing, I almost gave up. Make sure you're doing it clockwise. Like I said, I beat on that thing. I'm sweating, swearing, saying everything up and down the block. It took me at least, and when I say a half hour, over the course of like 3 days, because I kept giving up. I'm like, this thing's unbelievable. I'd spray more. I'd spray, not WD-40. I can't think of the thread. It really stinks. It's like an oil-based. I still smell it on this bolt. Because I just doused this thing with it and then let it, and then I would come back the next day, beat on it a couple times, still wouldn't come off, come back the next day, spray it again. It stunk on my whole house, right? Everything stunk in the house, this stuff. Finally, I got so frustrated, I just, beat, finally got it off. So, be prepared to swear up and down the block trying to get this thing off. Once you get this thing off, you're good. Throughout the course of having to take the tub in and out 3 or 4 or 5 times throughout all my repairs, this thing came off first, just you barely even smack it and it comes right off with the sludge and the hub nut tool. So just be aware of that. One last thing that I've almost forgot. So the tub nut is one of the last things you're gonna get out, and then the tub comes off and the split ring and all that. One of the first things you're gonna do as you're taking the tub itself apart, obviously you have to take some panels off and stuff, but once you start getting the tub apart, you're gonna pull the agitator out, right? So the agitator is gonna come off. That's the big thing in the center. It's really easy. You just get your fingers underneath it, kind of grab it with your thumbs too, because if it's gonna pop up. You don't want it to, nail you in the face. Once you get the agitator out, you're gonna see something like this, right? It's your agitator coupler, I think is what they call it. It slides onto the top of the mode shifter shaft, and a bolt goes right through the top there. Get that bolt off. This thing, I would say this was probably even harder to get off than that bolt. As you can see, I ended up having to break it to get underneath it to pry it. This thing, again, you can see it's like rusted. It was coated with soap scum and junk and garbage. Could not get it off. As you can see, I had to break it to get a screwdriver underneath it. If I can kind of prop up the camera here. So the shaft comes, through this hole right here. And then there's kind of a base right here. So what you can do is once you break it, I had to break this. Once I broke it, I was able to put a screwdriver underneath this and then kind of pry and then get this thing up. And you can just see, it's all cracked. And you can see where it's all gnarred up from me trying to pry it. But be aware of this. Actually, the way I broke this is I got a Dremel and essentially had to cut this whole thing out. And then I pried it and broke it right off. Because this is pretty thick plastic. So, I guess, good luck. Hopefully this, people, I almost didn't make this video. I was like, thing's 10 years old. People probably, they're gonna either throw them out or call a repairman or just buy a new one. If you're like me, stubborn, and you want to fix things, spend more money than, I mean, all in all, I probably would have to spend $500 or $600 or $700 on a washing machine. I'll probably put 200 into this, I'm hoping, no more. And once I fix this tub, it should, nothing leaked. Like when I filled it up halfway, the tub washer did not leak. So, and I don't have to touch that. I'm not touching it. You don't take the outer tub off to essentially fix what I'm gonna fix. So I'm gonna do everything from the inside of the tub. I'm gonna use some JB Weld. I'm gonna use a milk carton, and I'm going to use then some rubber spray on top of the milk carton once that dries and the JB Weld dries. And then from there, it should seal. I'll put it all back together, and I should have a working washing machine. Okay, so I just finished up sealing the tub with some JB Weld. So I use this JB Weld plastic bonder. Sets in 15, sanded in 30, dries tan. This stuff, I literally just cut a piece of a milk carton out, and I use that. Essentially, the milk carton will, rather than just applying this and hoping that the JB Weld holds the cracked plastic together, which it should do anyways, but I'm gonna put a piece of, or I put a piece of plastic on the outside as well and seal that, so that'll help distribute the load, so the crack, essentially the compromised piece of plastic, doesn't have to hold all the weight with the JB Weld holding it together. So I don't have to, essentially I don't have to worry about this giving way or letting go of the plastic. A piece of plastic is over it, and then also what I did is I took the JB Weld, I used an entire tube on this, and I'm gonna walk over there right now and just kind of show you what I did. But I also, I put so much on that when I pushed it on, it kind of oozed out, and it also oozed through the crack. So it oozed out the outsides of the essentially the milk carton plastic, and then it also oozed through the crack. And then I took some extra that I had, I put on another little piece of plastic, and I took my left hand and reached in between the tub frame and the tub where the crack was, and I made sure that that was all covered real nicely. So I'm just gonna walk over there real quick and kind of show you what I did. It's kind of funny, I didn't want to use this piece of the milk carton, but ruined the other piece. I cut it too small, so I had to use this, which actually has the sticker on it. But it doesn't matter because I'm going to then spray it with this rubber flex sealant. I'm gonna spray the entire area, that whole area. I wasn't gonna do this originally, but I found a guy who sealed his tub, had a similar crack on, I think it was a Maytag or something washer, very similar to what I did here. And he used silicone, a piece of milk carton like I am, and then he sprayed this over it, except he sprayed his entire tub, which I'm not gonna do. I'm just gonna spray the area where it cracked. So yeah, let's take a quick walk and I'll show you what I did. Okay, so you can see there, it literally looks like someone put a milk carton in my washing machine, but if I get the flashlight, you can probably see, yeah, so right there, that's actually, the glare is perfect. You can see where the JB Weld is at. It's all around the outside of the carton, and then the entire carton itself is covered in it. And then what I pushed, kind of gave it a nice little push, and it oozed out the crack. And then I was able to get my arm in between this area here, my left arm, so my right arm holding, put pressure on here, and use my left arm, and had a little extra JB Weld that I took down there with me. I was able to kind of, you can scoot the tub out. You can see I can get some extra room here. I was able to scoot it out, jam my arm down there, and then I was able to cover the crack from the outside as well. So not only is the inside covered nicely, but the outside is also covered with JB Weld. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of spray, if you could follow the flashlight, I'm kind of going to spray just this area and then down into the tub a little bit with that rubber flex seal, and hopefully seal that. I did clean this, and then actually I sanded, I don't know if you can tell, but actually I sanded this area. You can see it's kind of scratched up there. But I have to clean this up. You can see all the dirt and dust from the soap and stuff that I haven't cleaned yet. So I got to clean this before I spray it. Then I'm gonna give it a good spray. This dries pretty quickly. This will be fully cured in a half hour. It's probably been on there about 15-20 minutes now, so it should be cured shortly. I'm gonna spray it. I got to open some windows because that is extremely flammable, that spray. So if you do something similar, just make sure you either do it outside. To mess with this, I don't want to take this outside, so I'm just going to do it inside. Open some windows down here in the basement. Make sure I have some fans on, and I'm going to quickly spray it as quickly as I can and be done. And we should hopefully have a washing machine up and running here in the next couple hours. Okay, well that's it. It has been about an hour. I let that JB Weld cure. It's pretty much rock hard. I then took some sandpaper and just lightly sanded about 6 inches around the entire milk carton where I placed essentially the seal. And I used that spray rubber to essentially coat around that entire area, just as another barrier to that crack. The JB Weld probably will do just fine, hopefully, right? Fingers crossed, that's what I'm hoping. And I cleaned it really well, so I sanded it, cleaned it, sprayed it on. It has all the same warnings as like a spray paint or something like carb cleaner. So let's just take a quick look at what that looks like. Okay, so here we are. You can see the milk carton, kind of the outline of the milk carton where I put it, and this spray rubber. And you can actually see the glare. That's pretty good. It is actually like a thick, chunky, solution that's coming out. You can see the spatter up on top, and it's quite thick. Whatever. It's coming out. It does have a rubbery, kind of oily kind of smell to it, unlike spray paint. So you can smell this like petroleum type distillate or this rubber smell. Almost smells like tar. So we're gonna let this dry for about another, it says 10 minutes and cure time's up to 4 hours. I assume that's if you put it on pretty thick. I'm thinking here it'll probably cure. It's still a little shiny at the crack. I sprayed a little bit more down towards the bottom. But it looks, there's no shine or sheen up at the top. You can see, but as I go down, you can actually see on the flashlight there, it starts to, yeah, it's pretty dull there. So it's already dry here. I'm gonna let this dry here for about another 10 or 15, 20 minutes, and then I'm gonna start reassembling the tub. Probably let it dry overnight, even though everything says it should dry pretty quickly. and then give it a whirl tomorrow. See if I have a working washing machine tomorrow. A non-leaking. It is working, but it's leaked. So a non-leaking working washing machine. So here is the maiden voyage. This is literally the first time. It's been running for about 10 minutes. This is the first time I've looked, so I'm happy with what I'm seeing. You can see where I cut the zip tie. It was dripping just off of that. That's the overflow tube hanging down that I have to reattach to the frame there pretty quick. That's where the zip tie came off, but it was dripping pretty heavily there. The crack is right in the back. So if you recall from the top, it was back up underneath there. So it's dripping down right here. And then let's look at the so we can kind of see here. So this is what we're looking at, that kind of raised piece with the black shaft coming out of it. That's actually the mode shifter itself. That's what I had to replace. That's where the bearing's right on top. It's kind of hard to see. Yeah, you can kind of see the black piece around the shaft. That's the actual bearing. That's what the water drips onto. So you can actually see, it's kind of hard to tell, but yeah, right there. See the white residue on the mode shifter shaft? That is water that dripped down previously when it was leaking. So it's residue, probably some soap residue left over in the tub. I don't see any water. Looks like it is not leaking, and the mode shifter is working appropriately. You can see the belt is moving. So that's moving the inner shaft of the mode shifter. You can't see it inside. Oh, there goes the pump. Pump is working, so that's good. Everything's good. So I kind of freaked out there. I want to make sure that's appropriate. So you can see the agitator still going, so it's moving the shaft inside. There we go. Now you can see the entire tub is moving. So it engaged the mode shifter, the magnetic gear essentially that locks the teeth in. And we can see now that the entire tub is moving. And this is where it would have leaked before this, but this is where the water would start to drip down the mode shifter shaft, so down this shaft right there. And then it would eventually destroy that bearing, and that's where you get that really loud whirling sound. So I don't know how good this audio is going to be with the motor and the pump and everything going right now, but everything looks good. No leaks. I know people are very curious to see if this is going to work long term based on some of the other videos I looked at, so I'll make sure to keep everybody updated. But as of right now, everything has been successful. No leaks.